Hey, hey, welcome to another episode of Heroes and Videos, where we talk about all things comic book and film related. Today, I'm going to talk about Superman the movie. We're going to be doing a spoiler-filled video here, my review of the movie. Please stick around to the end of the video. I tend to get a little emotional at some of these things, and this movie was no exception. So if you want to see me probably get weepy, hang in there till the end. Also, please click the like button, notification, so you'll notify when I drop new videos, which hopefully will be happening a couple of times a week going forward. And would love for you to subscribe to the channel. Would love to have you. And, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of the video. Two things that I thought of coming out of this movie. One is I can't wait to see it again. The other is I can't wait for the sequel. This was a blast. Absolutely loved this film. I was going to post a no spoilers video, but sorry, I can't do that. There are too many key moments in this movie that I want to talk about. So there will be spoilers ahead. Maybe my Superman shirt or my Super Dad shirt can be the title card for the spoilers are coming up. If you don't want to be spoiled for the movie, click over and watch one of my other videos. Do anything but watch the rest of this. Again, we are going to be moving faster than a speeding bullet into spoiler territory here in 3, 2, 1, and here we go. One of the things that I'd heard prior to seeing this movie is that it would focus on the man part of Superman, and it really did. It certainly focused on Superman's humanity. A few topics. The Krypton swerve. Radical change to Jor-El and Laurel's motives for sending baby Kal-El to Earth. I'm not sure how I feel about this. It certainly changes the whole sending their son to save the Earth, to save us kind of Christianity overtone vibes that this story has sometimes had over the years. However, it was a masterstroke of storytelling in that it established a central conflict of the story, having the world turn on Superman because they think he was sent here to rule over us. If you combine that external conflict with Superman's very real internal conflict, that, and apologies here to Firesign Theater, you can Google that, everything you know is wrong, or at least everything Superman believed about his Kryptonian heritage was wrong. His very sense of self was shattered in an instant. I also love that the idea that Lex did not, that Luthor did not doctor that footage or that message. It would have been very easy to make that an evil genius. Oh, Lex did this, doctored this footage kind of thing. But no, the reality of it was that Superman was sent here for nefarious reasons. He was sent here to rule over us. So that was pretty neat change up from what we're used to in this story over the years. Lex Luthor, Nicholas Cage, Nicholas Hoult absolutely crushed it in this role. The arrogance, the hubris, the anger, the jealousy. I just loved it. The pettiness of knocking the mug with the pencils off a couple of times, for his gamer sidekick minions to pick up. And let's talk about those minions for a moment. In most films, the minions are usually not evil. They're submissive. They're being forced to do what they're doing. The old Kevin Smith Clerks thing on the Death Star. Were the HVAC people really evil, or were they just doing their job? This movie chose a different path with those folks. It hit me as the film went on. They were really enjoying it. Like I remember legitimately thinking, I hope these guys go to prison. They were getting into it. It was not cool. They were not your typical submissive henchmen. Also, speaking of henchmen, the Engineer and Ultraman, I thought they did a great job. I thought those characters were great. It was the scene, and it'll get into something I'll talk about later in the video. But when Superman's fighting the Engineer and Ultraman in the football field, he's reaching out to them. He says something along the lines of, "You don't have to do this." Just Luther, just because Luther's doing this, you don't have to help him. You don't have to do this. He's reaching out to their better angels. He's speaking to their humanity. He wants to give them that choice. Thought that was a nice touch. The Justice Gang, and holy Super Friends Batman, we got a Hall of Justice. I mean, that was pretty cool. Guy Gardner, Nathan Fillion. I wasn't really expecting much more of a cameo role here because that's often something he does in James Gunn films. I can't believe how much I enjoyed his performance in this role. The old "you got an upgrade, kid" line. Just the cockiness of Guy. It was something. I still don't like Guy, but that's kind of the point. And apparently he's showing up in Peacemaker 2. I don't know, that's a whole lot of pompous for one TV show between Fillion as Guy Gardner and John Cena's Peacemaker. So I don't know if there's enough. That's a lot of ego for one TV show. Hawkgirl. I'm a big Hawkgirl fan. I love the look. I could have done without the shrieking, screaming, but I understand it. It kind of gives her a different vibe than a lot of just the regular flying heroes, so that really stood out. Speaking of things that stood out, Metamorpho. What a great look for that character. Very, very comically accurate, if you will. Nice to see NoHo Hank show some range, and I mean, Hank, you have range as NoHo Hank too. I'm just saying. Also, does Metamorpho have a baby in the comics? I honestly don't know. If you do know, please leave a note in the comments. Would love to hear from you all in terms of whether or not he does. I'm fairly certain that his girlfriend or wife in the comics is Simon Stagg's daughter from Stagg Industries, but I don't remember if they have a baby. I'm curious about powers and all that kind of stuff. So if you know, please drop a note in the comments. Also, I was not ready for that scene with Metamorpho and Superman in the glass cage in the Pocket Universe, and as well as the fate of the gentleman that helped Superman out of the hole, out of the crater in the street earlier in the movie. I was not ready for that scene outside the glass cage where Luthor had captured that guy just because he helped Superman. And my jaw literally dropped at that, and loved the way the shot pulled away as that happened. I guess no pun intended when I say shot, but yeah, was not ready for that, and that scene certainly showed us Lex's brutality. So that was brutal. The opposite of brutal is terrific. I guess not quite the opposite, but Mr. Terrific was terrific. He stole every scene he was in. I'm looking forward to seeing more of this character in future DC films. The scene where he and Lois arrive outside the portal had a lot going on, demonstrated he had mad fighting skills in addition to the technological wizardry and the T-spheres. It was one of the few music scenes in the film. I like that, in that I love James Gunn's use of music in the Guardians films. It was innovative and just groundbreaking, I thought. But I was also glad to see he didn't overdo that in this film. It was just kind of the right amount. You knew it, that scene and the one at the end. You just knew that when he used the music, judiciously done and really was on point. Let's talk about Krypto. Different look from the comics. I love that he's just a dog straight up, but just happens to have superpowers. I was genuinely concerned for him early in the movie when the engineer zapped him with those nanite filament looking things that covered his head. I remember thinking in the moment, if y'all kill Krypto, I'm gonna riot. But thankfully they didn't. So kill Krypto. The Kents were adorable. Ma Kent's accent threw me at first, but quickly grew on me. Parents having difficulties with using cell phones is a very real thing. Couple of nitpicks, things I'm not sure I liked. What is up with Supergirl? That was my first thought with the Supergirl post-credit scene. What is up here? And then my second thought is, this character's getting a movie. However, I understand it's based on a Tom King limited series that it gets a lot of accolades. I have not read it. I am now very much looking forward to reading it. Plus, the Supergirl film apparently is going to have Lobo, or Jason Momoa as Lobo, the bounty hunter. So when you're talking about a motorcycle riding space bounty hunter, Lobo, with Jason Momoa paired up with this iteration of Supergirl, that does sound like something I'm going to have to see. So very excited to read that story and hope and see that film. Another nitpick was the scene with the lava river. So in the moment I was thinking Superman's super breath can propel him out of that danger event horizon thing, but he couldn't fly out of it. It's like breath is stronger than flying. That feels weird. And I know, suspension of disbelief. You need to believe a man can fly. My son did point out, and I don't know if this is a no prize because we're talking a different universe, but he's saying maybe the super breath was in addition to the flight. So that, that extra pushed him over the edge. And I get it. That kind of makes sense. Sign of a great film. I mentioned earlier in the video that I'd heard that it was focusing on the man in Superman. And it does, but James Gunn made an interesting choice here. In comics, it's often said that Batman is really Batman and Bruce Wayne is the disguise. And that Superman is really Clark Kent and Superman is the disguise. James Gunn threaded a different needle here. Superman is Kal-El in this movie. When he's being interviewed by Lois in the apartment, even without the cape, he's Kal-El. Clark is the disguise, or maybe I guess more accurately, he is Clark here, but the Clark that everybody knows at work is more like the disguise. Anyway, I mentioned Sign of a Great Film. Even though the movie focused on Superman's humanity, Clark Kent is barely in the movie. One scene, maybe two, if you count him bumbling in through, outside before he gets in up to the Daily Planet. So, but what's really interesting to me is that the film is so good, I didn't even notice that fact until days after seeing the movie. I mean, again, Clark is barely in the movie, and I didn't notice because the rest of it is just so good. I mentioned earlier being a big softie when it comes to emotional scenes in film and TV. My family's well aware of this, so they're, any number of times watching movies, they'll look over to see if I'm shedding a tear. This film was no different. I'm going to go through a few of those moments here, hopefully without choking up. If I do, hopefully that makes for some great TV. A few examples. When Superman flies into Lois's place as the Justice Gang is fighting that giant glowing space squid looking thing in the night sky. And she says she thought he was helping the Justice Gang. And he replies, no, he was looking for the dog. He then says he's going to turn himself in because he expects they'll take him to wherever they're holding Crypto. And she says, well, Clark, it's a dog. And his response is, yeah, he's not even a good dog, but he's alone and he's scared. I mean, that really got me. I mean, emotional stuff. Like, he knows he's flying into into certain trouble, and yet he's doing this because this dog. He knows this dog is alone and scared, and he'd do anything for that dog, and just like he'd do anything for anyone else, because that's what he does. He believes in the best in people. He'd do anything for anybody because it's the right thing to do, and he knows. The dog must be alone and scared, and that's enough for him to put himself at risk. I just thought that was something else. Also, the father-son conversation with Pa Kent and Clark on the bench in front of the Kent's house. The actor that plays Pa Kent is just phenomenal in everything I've ever seen him in. He usually often plays a villain or somebody maybe with some psychological damage. So I was not expecting much out of him here as Pa Kent, but he nailed it. Glenn Ford in the original Christopher Reeve film is a movie star from a different era. That's a whole different video in terms of movie stars or actors from late 60s, early 70s were more theatrical performers. and post, De Niro and Scorsese and a lot of the actors and directors that came up in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s. It's more of a realistic acting style, so it's hard to judge the Glenn Ford era actors versus the current era actors, if you will. And thought Glenn Ford was really good in that first Superman. The Snyder film was pretty divisive in how it portrayed the relationship with Pa Kent and Clark. But in this, I just love the Pa Kent's line about the choices that we make are what really determine who we are. That really got to me. The final scene in the movie also touched me when Superman's reviewing the footage of when he's growing up with the Kents. This serves as a bookend, a great bookend to that earlier scene where he's watching the footage from Krypton. Superman has now moved on from his Kryptonian heritage and embraces that human heritage, the lessons he learned from his upbringing with the Kents, and he's reconciled what he's discovered about Krypton's intentions for him on Earth. That doesn't matter. What matters are the choices he's made and the home that he has here on Earth. Again, really powerful stuff. I also teared up during the showdown between our hero and Luthor. But before I get to that, let's talk for a moment about Krypto grabbing Lex like he's a chew toy and having a Hulk slams Loki around in the Avengers moment. I can't be the only person that thought about Hulk slamming Loki around in the third act of Avengers when Krypto grabs Luthor and is treating him like a chew toy. That was hilarious. Anyway, back to me tearing up. When Superman talks about how human he is and how every day, when he's talking to Lex about how human he is and how every day he gets up and he does the best he can to make the right decisions to help make the world a better place. If that wasn't enough, he also mentions that he wants that for Lex too. He hopes that someday Lex will see his way to doing that as well. I mean, the fact that he wants Lex to be a better person, he wants that for someone who sees him as an enemy. That's just deep stuff. And then even deeper, what's really to me, and I think what hopefully become kind of the central theme of this film, and hopefully takes on a bigger life than just the film itself, is that during the interview with Lois, she tells Superman that while her job as a reporter is to not trust people, to look for the worst, to try to uncover the story, if you will. Her job's not to trust people, but that Clark believes in everyone and looks for the good in all people. To him, everyone is special. And they have that little punk rock discussion about where he's trying to be cool in punk rock, and she's like, "Oh, you're so not punk rock," with this Boy Scout. The fact that you look for the good in everyone, you try to be kind to everyone, and he says, "Hey, maybe that's the real punk rock, right? Being kind is the new punk rock." That I love this concept. It's a sad commentary on where we are as a world today. That being kind to everyone is considered revolutionary, or would be revolutionary punk rock. James Gunn has said he was creating a Superman for our times. That's needed for our times. Well, this is it. The new punk rock revolution is being kind to everyone. I mean, what a concept. The idea that this is a Superman, and here's what I think has been missing for so long. Here's a Superman that kids can look up to, that everyone can look up to. Somebody that tries every day to just do the right thing, treats everyone with respect, treats everyone with kindness, and compassion. I mean, let that be the revolution, right? That's the punk rock. I just love that. I love that. Being kind is the new punk rock. Somebody needs to hashtag that or meme it or something. I'm sure there's thousands of it out there, and great. I hope that continues. Be kind. I did have a weird synchronicity moment in preparing this video after seeing the movie. In realizing that the tagline I went with for this channel when I started a few weeks ago is "Be kind to each other." And I came up with that obviously prior to seeing the movie. Nothing mystical about that. It's obviously something the world can do with more of, but Just thought it just had a weird moment there, being kind, be kind. It is the new punk rock, right? In comparison, let's compare this to other Superman films. I'm not ready to say it's the best. Besides recency bias maybe playing a factor, it's a little early for me to say the best. My favorite is still probably Superman 2. Zod's trio they're pretty cool. Superman 1 was groundbreaking stuff. You will believe a man can fly. Christopher Reeve was super in the role. It's something else. Brandon Ruff in Superman Returns thought was great. He was great in Arrow as well as Atom and as Superman when he got to do that. Henry Cavill, great actor and a great Superman, but was having to work with the material he was given. Those were great films for what they were intended to be. But I think, I don't know, this new one may be my favorite. Once I have a chance to rewatch it and let it sit for a bit. I can't wait, as I mentioned earlier, can't wait to see it again. I don't know that I'm going to get to it before Fantastic Four is out this weekend. But if you haven't seen it, hopefully you didn't stick around this long, but if you haven't seen Superman, go see it. Go see it again, even if you have. Again, I'm gonna see it multiple times. Movies are made to be seen in theaters, so do that. Help support theaters any way you can. The Fantastic Four, again, is out this weekend. Looking forward to seeing that and having a review video up. And I'm also going to try to get up my top 10 Fantastic Four covers in my collection as well before that. Thanks for sticking around. Keep reading comics, keep watching movies, and absolutely, above all else, be kind to each other.